Hello everyone, welcome. This is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today I'm here with a design team project for Scrapping for Less. Today I will be creating a spooktacular Halloween card using this stamp set from Fawn. It is called Costume Party. Lots of little characters, there's candy, many sentiments, and we've got a pumpkin. I'll be using these pumpkin clips also from Doodlebug, a star stencil, and I've got a piece of watercolor paper and my card base all ready to go. So I'm going to first work on my background. So taking my piece of watercolor paper, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere two of the sides down with some painter's tape to just kind of hold that on my craft mat. Then I'm going to put my stencil over the top and add more painter's tape to the top and bottom to hold the stencil in place. There may be easier ways to do this, but this is what I find works for me. So I am grabbing some squeezed lemonade distress ink. You could also use distress oxides for this, but I don't have the distress oxides. I mostly just have distress ink. So that is what I'm using. I'm going to go ahead and use this yellow for my stars. So I'm just going to go ahead and stencil this color on. I do apologize. A couple places it gets a little blurry, and also when I am doing the distress inks for this card, this craft mat does move around. So if you suffer from any kind of vertigo, you might want to just kind of skip through this part, or if wobbly camera angles give you a headache, just fast forward on through. So just finishing up here with the distress ink, and then I am going to keep everything adhered, but I'm going to grab something to just kind of wipe the yellow off the stencil, because I'm going to be using some Versamark ink, and I'm just going to go right over the stencil. So the Versamark is directly over all that distress ink, because I am going to use some clear embossing powder to set this yellow color in, so that my stars are nice and yellow, because I'm going to create my sky with some darker distress inks. So one thing I did not do, which I highly suggest you do, is use some sort of powder tool, or I just use baby powder most of the time. I don't have a baby or a powder tool, I just use baby powder. So you will see there's a few spots where way too much clear embossing powder kind of clumped, and I didn't really notice it, and it does show up on the finished product, but I don't find it all that distracting, and I'm not going to redo it. So I'm just going to press on. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside to cool, and then I'm going to come back to it. So for my sky, usually my go-tos are Dusty Concord, and then I use Chipped Sapphire and Black Soot. So I am starting with my Dusty Concord right now, and this, I'm just doing the whole panel. I do have some like green, hilly, grassy ground, whatever you want to consider it. I do have some green cardstock cut out for the ground, so it's just going to go right over it. So kind of on one side, you'll notice I don't really put too much focus on. I do the whole thing because I'm not 100% sure where that ground is going to lay on my card at this point, but I kind of have an idea where it may or may not end. But I just want to get down there with that light purple all the way to the end anyway. So I'm going ahead and using the Chipped Sapphire, and then I'm just going to kind of bring in a little bit of Black Soot right on the end. Just kind of cleaning that because I had a lot of ink and I didn't need it to get all over my hands. So you don't see the Black Soot part, I apologize, but I did add some to the ends. So I'm going to go in here now, and here are the two pieces that I cut out for my ground. So the first piece I'm just going to lay completely flat. So this top piece here, this bigger one, this is where I want my sentiment to go. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that first because I'm also going to heat emboss it. So I'll just want it to cool for a minute before I touch it. Not because it's hot or anything, it's just I don't want to potentially disturb the heat embossing. I'm not even sure if that's possible. I just like to let it cool down for a second, let it set before I touch it. When I stamped it with the Gina K Black Amalgam ink, I thought that I would have been able to quickly put the embossing powder over the top and have it stick, but that's not what happened. Now I'm not sure because I did use the powder on this piece, if maybe because of that, that ink dried super quickly, or if this ink you just can't do that with. I thought I had, but maybe not. So I do just take the Versamark and I stamp as best I can over the top, and it actually came out pretty good. It is slightly off, but you would only know it if I told you that, or if you stared at the scent of it long enough to figure that out. But that's part of crafting, you know, sometimes you just do things and you just keep pushing. So then I thought it'd be really fun to kind of add in these pumpkin clips, just for a little added texture, dimension, just for a different kind of look, because I wanted the bottom to kind of be pumpkin-y, like with rosa pumpkins. But I didn't want to use all the pumpkins I colored. So anyway, I thought these clips were a great alternative. And I did use some clear tape there to hold the back part down, just so that the clips wouldn't move. I didn't want to use any glue on them, so I just taped down that back part, and it worked beautifully. But I am using 2 of these pumpkins that I did stamp out, color and die cut from the stamp set called Costume Party. I think I mentioned that in the beginning. So I'm going to put those 2 between the pumpkins, and now we're kind of adding our characters, which are so stinking cute. I really didn't want to put them on the card, but then I was like, really, what am I going to do with them? Just stare at them because they're pretty. You know what? I probably would, but we're going to put them on the card, and we are going to put all of them on the card. So I put my little critters down. I decided they each need to hold something. So one's going to hold a bucket, the witch will hold her broom, and this little dinosaur guy cannot wait for his little fun-size candy bar. So he is going to be holding a little mini chocolate. We have some candy scattered on the bottom, and this pretty much will be all I do for that front panel. So I'm using this like navy blue cardstock. It's a piece I just kind of had in my stash. It's probably one that came from a card kit at some point. And I just thought it was perfect for this scene. Adding some foam adhesive to this panel because it's kind of a little warped from all the distress ink and heat embossing. So that was a great way to kind of make that a little more sturdy. Adding a white mat to the inside of my card, which I do all the time when I am using colored cardstock for a card base. And I'm stamping the trick or treat and adding the other 2 characters that I did not put on the front of the card. And then I thought I would just add 3 pieces of candy around that trick or treat, kind of fill in some of those spaces between those 2 little guys. Finishing off with some Wink of Stella clear glitter brush, because always need to add a little bit of sparkle and shine. I wish that it showed as well on camera as it does in person, but anyone who uses it, you guys know it doesn't. But anyway, thank you so very much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more and you're not already, hit subscribe. And until next time, everyone, bye.